And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Indeed.
All right. Well, let's get started here. Welcome. So we just thought that this was a good time to share some words of peace. I just want to welcome you guys, Urantia Book Network. Some of you guys are the Spirit of Truth fans. Welcome, Chuck. I just want you to know that we are concerned about our brothers and sisters in a way that we'd like to share peace. Not that we're in anxiety, but that we're blessed with such a revelation, and that allows us to share information with our loved ones that has comforted me. And what it means to bring peace to someone else, starting with the peace in your heart that I've found through the teachings of Jesus in the Urantia book. So unless you have something more to add to that, I just want to set the stage of Chuck and I have taken our lunch break here from work so that we can reach out and kind of just share some important words from the Urantia book. And thank you, Chuck. Throw some value Chuck's way. I haven't seen anyone research the Urantia book the way that Chuck does. And so we're really blessed to have someone like that on the UBN team and in the greater team, the greater brotherhood. So thanks, Chuck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's an honor and a pleasure.
All right. Well, let's reap some rewards from some of the work of Chuck and Jesus and the Revelators.
And Derek, too. If I could maybe kick this off by mentioning a quote that Derek came up with recently. He found in the Urantia book right as all this trouble was brewing that we've been seeing over the last few days, with not just the protests, but also the destruction and the conflict and the heightening of tensions between people, many of whom are all thinking they're doing the right thing, but they're reaching a point of bitterness and conflict that's becoming very destructive. And Derek found this really interesting quote that I'd forgotten about, which is a couple of them. They run together, a couple of paragraphs from paper 68.
From paper 68. So just to, in case you just joined us, we are going live here on Facebook because we're taking a lunch break from our work, and we would like to share some words of peace coming from the Urantia book. So I know that the live stream on Facebook is just going now. So hopefully we can get this going in a way that is just setting a tone of peace for everyone. And I do want to thank Chuck for joining us. This man can research the Urantia book more than anyone and better than anyone I've ever met. So it warms my heart to have him on the team, and we're all going to benefit from his work and his contributions. So thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, right.
It's an honor to be able to talk about these things and to share from the Urantia book. Such a resource. Such a wonderful resource. It goes so deep in so many directions on so many topics.
Absolutely.
And these words, some of them are going to be words of peace, but some of them are going to be words about peace.
Yeah. So just
to help us understand why it's so difficult.
Right. So this episode that we're doing is just kind of a freeform one, kind of in the middle of the day. We've found some quotes in the Urantia book reflecting on peace, some teachings of Jesus about peace. And we wanted to share that with our brothers and sisters out there. Just maybe, it's not an easy lesson here by any means. Peace is not an easy thing on this planet as we're growing to learn now. Yeah. But it takes such a level of value discernment and self-accountability in your action that we're really learning. And I invite all of you to stick around and hold yourself to a high level as we do this.
Right. And it's not as if we've got all the answers, but we at least have some interesting questions that we can all ponder and hopefully grow from. And particularly regarding the role of revelation on this planet and the revelation of God and the nature of God and our place in the universe. Those are key factors, as the Urantia book explains in a couple of quotes I could read.
Yeah. I mean, we were going over a lot of this earlier today that you and I were talking. We were coming up with quotes and even coming up with some of our own, working on different ways of bringing peace out. So, yeah, if you want to just...
But just as kind of set the stage.
Please.
This is one that you actually brought to my attention as all this was starting a few days ago. This is from paper 68, The Dawn of Civilization.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Sometimes it feels like this planet is
paper
still
68. No, I don't have that right
still
here.
At the dawn of civilization. This is paper 68, part 3.
Okay.
I could just read a couple of sentences from here. This is from paragraph 4. It says, emotions alone, This is all very emotional, and people emotionally long for peace, right? And meanwhile, but there's conflict and bitterness that destroy that possibility, and there's all this emotion around peace. The book tells us that emotions alone, without the influence of peace-promoting revelations, are unable to endure the strain of the suspicions and irritations of human interassociations. So the Urantia book is very forthright in its recognition that people get on each other's nerves. Yeah. And there's irritations, and problems naturally flow from that. And this is part of our natural state. And one of the purposes and roles of revelation is to help us overcome this, to give us a higher perspective on who we are, what the purposes of life are, what the purposes of evolution on this planet might be, and give us, a higher stake in things. Shoot higher. Yeah. In the next paragraph, and this is a statement that really hit home for me, just like the cat's joining in. This is paragraph 5, the first sentence. It says, "The peace tendency of the human race is not a natural endowment. It is derived from the teachings of revealed religion." Yeah. So I think it might be worthwhile, since they put that at give that such importance in this context. Maybe we can explore that a little bit.
Well, absolutely.
What are they saying there?
Well, I feel that's why we're even doing this podcast right now. Why we're going live is because of the teachings of this revelation and the peace that it does bring. And so we'd like to share that also, right, like good brothers would do. And so would Kitty.
Yeah, he's in on it.
It's Bruce Leonidas, aka Mr. Snuggles. Okay, so
so this, of course, brings Jesus to mind. Prince of Peace.
Right.
And he, we know from the Urantia book that he was a man of peace, and that his revelation of the nature of God and our relationship to God as the children, sons and daughters of our heavenly parents. Yeah. However we conceptualize
family concept.
It's a family concept.
Right.
And it's a loving concept, and it's a concept that will eventually bring peace to this world. But he warns us that, let's see, where was that?
On 78.4? Oh, no, hang on.
Sorry.
Way to be prepared, Chuck.
Yeah, I know. I should be better
128.7?
It could be.
Jesus was a man of peace?
Jesus was a man of peace.
Okay, so let me show the audience.
But that's, okay. That's part of it. But that's about a story about his family.
Oh.
It's where he says that, oh, yeah, here it is. Oh, yeah, this is one. This is 180.
180 what? 6?
6-1, yeah.
Okay. I'll highlight it for everyone.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. So he tells us, although this gospel of the kingdom never fails to bring great peace to the soul of the individual believer, it will not bring peace on earth until man is willing to believe my teaching wholeheartedly and to establish the practice of doing the Father's will as the chief purpose in living the mortal life. So he's making a strong connection here between this concept or this idea of doing God's will and how that brings us individual peace in our hearts and our minds, but that it also is a essential requirement for peace in general, socially, amongst the peoples of the world.
Yeah, it still plays on the seek first the kingdom, finding that peace first. Yeah, and I can't help but reflect on the whole notion of if sacking a kingdom is of turning the stone in yourself of self-control, self-mastery. Mm-hmm. That's the work to be done. That's the facade that needs to crumble into something new and beautiful.
Right.
By choosing to choose peace, choosing the will of God and to act in that. Mm-hmm. That brings a level of integrity in one's inner life that spills out into the outer life.
Exactly. Yeah, there's almost a sense of responsibility in that, that we can voluntarily take responsibility for the good of the whole.
Yeah.
My life isn't just about me. It's about all the people I touch and all the things I do and everywhere I go. We have an influence. Every person has an influence in the world, for better or for worse. And the truer you are internally to God, the better that influence is going to be. It's going to be a natural consequence. It's like the fruits of the Spirit.
Right.
And one of the fruits of the Spirit is enduring peace.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
remember that?
Tie-in, yeah.
Yeah. So how does that work? I mean, why is that a natural consequence of seeking the Father's will? How does that flow into?
Well, what I love about these concepts of this internal work that we call the inner universe or whatever, and seeking God's will inside too,
Exactly. Well, that's where we find it. Yes.
Yeah. This inner laboratory or inner weight room that we're working out in all the time. And it's worth it to work out, because what do you have to show for it when you're done working out? Right. All of us invest so much effort into different things, whatever it is, and then it yields fruits, good or bad, strong or poor, whatever it is. What kind of fruits do you want to have? How do you want to stand under the light of recognition under the Father of all? So hold yourself to that accountability of growing towards peace in this honest enlightenment towards oneself that yields these fruits or muscles of the Spirit, if you will, whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah.
This is the fruit of your creative labor of something that's valuable. That labor is so valuable that you will reap the rewards eternal reward.
And one of the biggest rewards of that work is the relationship that we have with God. So in this eternal laboratory or weight room that you're referring to, there's a relationship going on there. And that cultivates a sense of restraint, I think. There's almost like a partnership. It's like the book encourages us to be in partnership with deity. And if I'm in partnership with somebody, or even like having a conversation, there's a exercise of restraint and it combined with initiative. It's this really interesting combination of initiative and restraint that goes
self-control, man.
That goes into a co-creative venture.
Yeah.
So if you think about our biggest co-creative venture, of course, is with God, both individually and collectively, then that encourages this inner conviction or sense that it's important to check in with my partner, right? Before I act impulsively. It's like, okay, God, Jesus, you're with me. You see what's going on. Is this the right thing to do?
Well, I found also it's a level of having trust in that partner too. I mean, there's a level of rapport that you have to go through. Even, let's say even our friendship, yours and mine, there's a level of rapport and comfort that you have to establish with one another until there's then that trust. And even the more trust comes when there's that vulnerability. You share something that you don't always share with everybody else.
Right.
And that's then you trust someone because you just invested it in that.
Sure. And it takes time.
Yeah.
Sometimes to get to that place with someone. And I think it takes time to get to that place with God too. I mean, I didn't automatically trust God when I first learned about the nature of God from the Urantia book. It's a huge revelation. And it took me a while to for that to really sink in personally as to what that actually means for me personally. That means I really have to trust God. It's not just a theological concept.
Right.
This is a real living thing that from day to day. And sometimes I'm better in that relationship and some days I'm not. It depends on my level of conviction, my focus, my willingness to restrain myself, but at the same time cultivate strength.
Well, isn't this all a level of what you're talking about of what self-mastery is? The restraint
it's all about
expression.
All about self-mastery.
And my mom always brings this up and reminds me about this of what self-control feels like, means to her. And that, we talk about self-control as restraint, but we also look at it as self-control as mastery of your maneuvering. So look at a high-level Olympic gymnast. The level he or she has of her control of their body that they have is unbelievable. Or an ice skater or a martial artist, something like that. That's control too. You know what I mean? To where you're in command of your body, your mind, your faculties, all of your expression. That's actualization.
Right. And it's command that's internally guided.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. It's not an end in itself.
Right.
It becomes kind of your palette of possibilities.
Sure.
You know, to the extent, or like an artist, or even just or a writer working with words, working with thoughts.
It's all art, though.
Working with ideas, all of that.
Yeah.
Right. As you master the techniques and your own competence and ability in whatever realm it is, that's not the end goal.
Right.
The end goal is then to use that effectively in relationships, in creative endeavors that meet up with the larger good.
Well, I can't help but relate to that as far as like, there's never an end. There's always just a whole new set of potentials. With every advancement, there's a whole new set of potentials, and either you recognize them sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
And so even like, I remember the training in martial arts is some people, it was cool enough for them just to be in the kun or the dojo, just to train, I have my uniform on, I made it, you know? And I know a lot of people, probably people in government feel that way, that just because they made it that's the end in itself. But all that does is create a whole new level of potentials and responsibilities.
Yes.
And in that, when you really accept that I'm just continually growing, continually getting closer to spirit, then you see that, or at least I see that, as a design that is perfect, that is perfection. The ability to choose growth and to co-creatively go into it with divinity, that's awesome. That is perfection. Not perfection is not being able to grow, not being able to be the commander of your own design.
Yeah. Right.
So we are given the perfect design if we can learn through revelation sometimes how to discern that and where to look for it.
Yeah. And the key piece you mentioned in there is spirit.
Yeah.
Growing closer to spirit, having a larger consciousness, even a consciousness of God, but specifically consciousness of influence of spirit. And what's so interesting to me about the way the Urantia book presents spirit as a concept is that it's about values. We derive our values from spirit. We work with ideas in the mind, meanings and ideas in the mind, but values come from spirit. So in developing what you're talking about there, this level of self-mastery, this inner command, so that you can actually take initiative and make things happen that wouldn't happen unless you took initiative.
Totally.
And at the same time, be in partnership with God and actually have that voluntary self-restraint, that sweet combination of factors that actually enables good things to happen. We need to have a strong connection to our value sources.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for that. And the way I look at it is that we look at like system control so much, and maybe some people look at God as like this system control if they're looking at it from an outside perspective. But you know, something we're talking about is not allowing the system to force you to submit nor rebel.
Right, an external.
You're not beholden to the system. You're not beholden to the external pressures. Even if they destroy your body, you're not beholden to it. You have God inside you. You can choose creatively to design that which is of your highest aspirations.
Yeah. And that may involve choosing to cooperate.
Absolutely.
With, you know, the mandates of organized civilization, such as they are, the laws and the good purposes and all of that, to the extent that it serves the advancement of civilization, let's say, to put it in the biggest terms. We can choose to cooperate with that, but we can also choose to cooperate in a way that's original for each of us. And this leads into another great statement.
Which one do you have?
This is 141.5.1.
Hang on, let me find it.
In the middle of the paragraph. He's talking to James.
Just so everybody knows, Chuck shared like 100.
Yeah, right. That's why it took me a minute to find that one.
Oh my goodness.
We got several pages to plow through.
Got it.
Yeah, there's hundreds of references in the book to peace. So I'm trying to find the best
We're probably not even going to get through all of these.
No way.
It's already been 20 minutes. So.
But anyway, James is asking, the master, how should we learn to see alike and thereby enjoy more harmony among ourselves? So this is like one concept of peace. right? That's almost a secular concept. And maybe we'll get to that in a minute. But if you just force everybody to think the same thing and act the same way and wear the same clothes and
isn't that like number 2 on the Lucifer Manifesto?
Something like that. Right. That's one way of sort of having peace, but at a very high price.
Oh yeah.
The conformity, like you were saying, where you're defined externally,
right?
Either one way or the other.
Yeah,
so Jesus, when Jesus heard this question, he was stirred within his spirit, so much so that he replied, James. I love it when Jesus like repeats the name of the person he's talking to, just for emphasis.
Yeah.
So he
listen to me now, boy.
Yeah, listen. This is, or behold, there's different ways of doing this. Anyway, it says, James, when did I teach you that you should all see alike? I have come into the world to proclaim spiritual liberty to the end that mortals may be empowered. Mortals may be empowered to live individual lives of originality and freedom before God.
Amen.
I do not desire that social harmony and fraternal peace shall be purchased by the sacrifice of free personality and spiritual originality. So, well, then he goes on. This is good too. He says, what I require of you, my apostles, is spirit unity. Spirit unity. And that you can experience in the joy of your united dedication to the wholehearted doing of the will of my Father in heaven. So this idea of spirit unity with individual originality is one of the most beautiful aspects of all this that I can think of.
It's a beautiful blend.
Yes, right. So the spirit unity comes from the nature of divinity. Divinity is inherently unified. That's part of its definition. Amen. So if we all seek inspiration from we each have, we all have thought adjusters that start out the same, right?
Right.
So there's something the same in all of us.
Absolutely.
We have this original source of spirit insight in every one of us that's actually the same. But we have individual personalities that are unique.
Yes.
So it's that dynamic interaction of uniqueness with sameness.
And potentiality.
And the potentials.
Yeah,
right,
there's a similarity in potentialities, but also uniqueness in the potentialities too.
For each of us.
Yes, because what we share is we have a destiny with divinity. Yeah. Hallelujah, give thanks. But then also there's a uniqueness in that destiny as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love how he says this. He says, I come into the world to proclaim spiritual liberty to the end that mortals may be empowered to live individual lives of originality and freedom before God. It's like the kids in the backyard and the parents are watching them adoringly from the back porch or whatever. Yeah. And they're running around, they're doing stuff, Yeah. And when the kids achieve and they do things that they're free and original and good to each other, that pleases the parents.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the feeling I get from here that originality and freedom before God, that God wants us to be free. He wants us to be original. He wants us to tap into the depth of the resources that we've been given internally. And see, that's the problem. If you allow yourself to be defined externally, you'll never find the depths of your internal resources.
You will constantly change the precipitation of your outlook. Or the internal weather will change constantly because you will be led in circles by that which influences you every time, instead of there being stability. Even Jesus, as he talked to Peter, I will build my church on this rock. I mean, there's a solid foundation with the Spirit. We might think of it as some mist vapor that floats around in the sky, but dude, hardly. There is a solid foundation there, and I encourage all of you to go find it.
Yeah, everything sources from Spirit. The flow of reality is from spirit to mind to matter. We evaluate, then we decide, and then we act.
Yeah.
That's the flow. And we see that in deity, and we also are guided to think that way for ourselves.
And then the cycle begins again.
Right.
After we act, then there's the evaluation.
Then new actuals create new potentials. So then you get to, start reconsider or grow upon, whatever it takes. But that flow that originates from within through the valuation of our decisions and also our sense of identity. We were talking about that today too, that's like a huge thing. What do you think you are? Who are you?
Yeah.
I have a name. I have memories of things I've done in my life, but who am I really? Am I a protester or am I a child of God?
Well,
or both.
This whole thing's based on identity.
It is.
This is all about identity, and that the beautiful thing is that what Jesus talked about is that this is the veil of soul making, right? Like, this planet can be seen as a piece of steaming dung to some, or you can take on the identity that this is where all the good stuff really does happen in the hard stuff. This is where you're being battle tested, rebellion tested. Your soul is being forged.
Best place to be
on the anvil of necessity and whatever.
Right.
Like, dude, this is it. If you can just embrace it. I mean, obviously, not all of us go to prison or go to war, and where we're face to face with our mortalities. But there's a level of accountability that comes with that certain extremeness.
Yeah.
That I wish a little bit for everyone, not with an anxiety, but with a level of, if I mess up, I'm messing up the whole. I'm messing up that which is my family, that which is that I hold at the highest value. And so I don't break character. I don't slip, because I know that this is the way God is, and this is where I'm going, baby. And this is the way I choose to grow, because I know it uplifts me. It uplifts everyone. It uplifts this whole supreme.
Right. I mean, not that there isn't forgiveness.
Absolutely.
But there's also this factor of determination that the book refers to a number of times, especially in the context of adjust or attunement, or better terms, getting into that real partnership with God. It requires determination on our part. And sometimes, it requires risk taking, because we don't always know. I mean, we seek the Father's will, and we can receive value guidance from within. But in terms of our plan of action on the ground, a lot of that we have to figure out for ourselves.
Yeah, didn't we say that today? Where the boots on the ground?
Yeah. And then you can see that in Jesus' life. He would stay up all night, thinking, what am I going to do with these apostles? How am I going to keep them safe? How is this possibly going to work? Right? So he wasn't just sitting there taking dictation from God. Okay, tomorrow start out at 8 a.m. do this, 9 o'clock do that. Okay, got it. It's not like that. He was figuring it out for himself. And we have to do that too.
Well, what were we talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. Continue that. Finish that thought.
With the guidance, in communion.
Right. So what we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about, it's kind of like teaching your child how to ride a bicycle, but your child is so gaining her sense of identity and independence, and she's like, no, or he or she is like, no, I'm going to do it.
I can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. And so there's this way that we learn in the insight of God, is that my children need to learn how to do it themselves. I am here for the guidance, but they have to ask me.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of applies to this peace question. If they say that we're never going to achieve peace without revelation, we need divine influence in order to actually achieve peace.
Yeah.
There's this.
So let's do it. Let's share some more divine influence, not just me rambling.
So here we go. So this is good too, I think. This is
where is it?
181:17.
Okay, I got that one quicker.
And this is the Midwayers commenting on Jesus's teaching about peace. And they say that Jesus gives peace to his fellow doers of the will of God, but not on the order of the joys and satisfaction of the material world. So they're going to make a distinction here. And they go on to say that unbelieving materialists and fatalists can hope to enjoy only two kinds of peace and soul comfort. Either they must be Stoics with steadfast resolution, determined to face the inevitable and to endure the worst. It's like resignation kind of. Or they must be optimists, ever indulging that hope which springs eternal in the human breast, vainly longing for a peace which never really comes.
Yeah.
So these are the two alternatives for the non-believer. You could either just tough it out and just go into a place of resignation where you almost don't care, or you can just be blindly optimistic, but never actually able to achieve this goal of great price, this pearl of great price. The
pearl of great price, right. My Mormon brothers.
Okay, so they go on to explain in the next paragraph.
Yeah.
A certain amount of both stoicism and optimism are serviceable in living a life on earth. So they're not completely discounting the importance of, of being aware of the difficulty and have a certain, hopeful outlook. Those aren't bad things. But neither has aught to do with that superb peace which the Son of God bestows upon his brethren in the flesh. The peace which Michael gives his children on earth is that very peace which filled his own soul when he himself lived the mortal life in the flesh and on this very world. So he's lived the life in the flesh just like we are now. So he knows all about it. That's why they refer to him as our brother in that sense. The peace of Jesus is the joy and satisfaction of a God-knowing individual who has achieved the triumph of learning fully how to do the will of God while living the mortal life in the flesh. The peace of Jesus' mind was founded on an absolute human faith. Now, that's an important detail. The peace of Jesus' mind was founded on an absolute human faith in the actuality of the Divine Father's wise and sympathetic overcare. So Jesus, is the way, the truth, and the life. He's demonstrating human potential.
Yeah, it's the teacher.
He's the teacher. He's right.
He's leading the lesson. He's showing you what he's done. I love how everyone is getting on YouTube and other channels and like learning from other people who've kind of gone first.
Yeah.
It's that same kind of thing. You like get that inspiration from like the people with integrity. They're like, hey man, I did this. You can do it too.
Yeah.
So here's how you can do it.
Jesus doing a how-to YouTube channel.
I know. But what I was thinking about is that, with my expression is that I try to let this expression be Jesus's YouTube channel, because I can be a vessel of Jesus's peace, I feel great about that.
Yeah.
And can't we all, and I ask all of our brothers and sisters, when you see another brother and sister out there, see if you can see Jesus's peace in them, or bring Jesus's peace to them, or see Jesus's face to them. Like they are your brother and sister in this whole thing.
Right.
As the part, so the whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're
going to be in this together for a long time.
Yeah, we're all working together.
For a long time to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
On this world and after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So having that long-term perspective, that's part of why Jesus had such love for the people that he encountered in his life.
Yeah.
He didn't just see them how they were that day with all their struggles and confusions and everything. He saw them as finaliters even. He saw their real, true, eternal potential.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
And it would speak to them in those terms.
Well, there's a part from the Urantia book where it says is something that Jesus believed in them so much that that's what empowered them.
Yes,
that this other individual. We talk about external acceptance or external permission. But here, I couldn't imagine what it'd be face to face talking to the master of the universe. Him believing in me full force, I'm like, I could probably take on anything.
Whoa. Yeah.
But that is the truth in itself, even if you don't see him in right here or whatever, but he's in here in the heart and asking us to do that and believing in us still, always.
Yeah, right. Well, he also sees the Spirit of the Father within us.
Yeah.
He sees that our personality is destined to be fused, be joined with this divine spirit that's been gifted from within. Yeah. And that almost like divinity tension between God within and Jesus as a divine companion who's been human and knows about being human creates this just exciting and wonderful opportunity.
Well, there's some liberty that comes in that companionship, that relationship. I know Jesus has given some sermons on true sonship liberty, what it means to be a child of God, and the liberty that comes with that.
Yeah.
And we have, I always beat this horse to death, I guess, but the difference between the material kingdom and its liberties and the spiritual kingdom and its liberties, and how that plays out. And it's unfortunate that we don't have revelation all over the place where we can actually discern the differences there and kind of get them to line up. So we still try to then make one or the other reflect the other, if that makes sense. And so on this planet, isolated as it is in dealing with rebellion, but with the added challenges and then rewards and lessons in it, we can't get too caught up in wanting to see complete change into what is idealistic in our lifetime.
Right.
You know, these are like Jesus said, your rewards are in heaven. For these some of these peacemakers, their rewards are in heaven, man. It's not an easy exit off this planet.
Well, he said, lay up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you focus only on material gain, you're going to might not even make it to heaven. I mean, you probably will, but you're going to be pretty poor when you get there. In a true sense.
Yeah, yeah.
In the sense of value realization.
Yeah.
In the sense of like that richness of experience that we share with God. And it's like when I leave this planet, I've thought about this before, you know, okay, how am I going to get off the planet without showing up on the other side with all kinds of regrets? Right.
Yeah,
about what I didn't do, what I should have done, or, oh man, I really screwed that up. It's like, it's easy to think in those terms.
Sure.
And one of the ways I escape from that is through this idea of partnership, living partnership with God.
Okay.
And with Jesus in particular, because we're going to have shared memories, right? And those are going to be good memories because they're going to involve, because I have to lift myself up. There's a discipline involved in hanging out with Jesus. There just is. It's kind of what you were referring to before. You have to raise yourself up to his level.
Jesus is the ultimate
and
DJ.
And love is the fulcrum for doing that.
Yeah, love is the beat, man. And Jesus is the DJ. So you got a beat match with Jesus' beat.
Right, exactly. You gotta exactly. Perfect. And if you can do that, the more you can do that, you're creating shared memories. Right?
Oh yeah, totally.
So when we get on the other side, you remember that, you remember this, and they're all good things.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be some things that don't get done, but there's going to be.
Oh, that's beautiful, Chuck. Thanks for sharing that. You made me think about like sitting by because sometimes what I do is if I'm camping, maybe my girlfriend or someone goes to bed early, I'm still sitting there having a couple ciders, sitting by the fire, talking to Jesus. Right. I choose to talk to Jesus at that moment. And you might call it silly or whatever, but I look back. After what you just said, I am excited more now about in the future meeting Jesus and us sitting by the fire of Havana or whatever it is and talking about that time we talked by the fire on Urantia.
Those memories.
Yeah.
And the adjuster preserves those memories. We know that. The adjuster, that's one of the things it does, is it preserves memories that have spiritual value. And what has more spiritual value than a relationship with Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
So that's all going to come back crystal clear.
Well, isn't there something in the Urantia book that we read the other day of that your personal relationship with Jesus should take precedence over all other relationships?
Precedence, yeah. I mean, I could probably find that really quick if you want.
Sure, I can go on an impromptu homily here. No, I'm just kidding. But I do want to share words of comfort and peace because I personally feel
here it is. Here it is.
Okay, yeah. Let's share.
Okay, this is paper 141.7.5, beginning the public work. And the context here is him with his apostles as usual. And let's see. Yeah, here it is. Okay, paragraph 5. So they say that Jesus made it plain. And I have to say, when I first read this, it was very sobering because I had to really take to heart what he's saying here. Jesus made it plain that he had come to establish personal and eternal relations with men and women, of course, which should forever take precedence over all other human relationships. And he emphasized that this intimate spiritual fellowship was to be extended to all men of all ages and of all social conditions among all peoples. The only reward which he held out for his children was, in this world, spiritual joy, the only, spiritual joy and divine communion. In the next world, eternal life in the progress of the divine spirit realities of the Paradise Father. But this idea that he made it plain that he had come to establish personal and eternal relations which should forever take precedence over all other human relationships. He's not saying that those other relationships don't matter.
Right.
But there's a kind of
there's a source of all relationships, and we need to go to the source first.
Yes.
I feel like
that the highest standards and qualities of relationship flow from our relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
So then we have that to give to all of our other relationships.
You know, I can't
help
help
if we put one of those higher than him, then we lose that. Yes.
And I have, that kind of experience with my mom, because, I love her so much. I love you, Mom. You've done so much for us. That's my secret sauce. I'm giving you my secret sauce, everybody. My mom's awesome. But that's the secret sauce, is that I have that relationship that I can go to that can bring me the wisdom and guidance that I can then share back.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm giving the right peaceful contribution to the Supreme and to everybody else in doing so. And that's the same thing. And my real secret sauce is that I have a relationship with Jesus.
Right.
And so does my mom.
Subsauce is the subsauce.
Yeah. So she goes to that one, and I go to that one, and she comes to me, and I go to her.
And you can meet.
Yeah.
In that.
And then it's an even bigger party.
Have that understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, to share that love of Jesus with another person and understand how important that is. It creates like a little community. You know what I mean?
It is. It's a party, man.
Oh yeah.
Jesus is DJing the whole party.
Yeah. Right. But the words here are so profound that this is to be a personal and eternal. It's not only personal, but it's eternal. So there's other places in the book where they talk. Jesus is a paradise creator son. He may be, as Michael, the creator of our local universe, but he comes from paradise. He comes from the center of all things. So he takes us there. Our adjuster takes us there, and he takes us there. Yeah. We don't lose our relationship with Michael when we leave the local universe.
Right.
They make that plain, that this is an eternal relationship. And even in the future ages beyond the Supreme, this is still going to be happening. Yeah, so this is a very special, defining relationship.
Well, I love how he talks about, you'll say that you knew me, and I will say I don't know you.
Right.
And that's kind of goes back to the campfire thing that I was talking about, where it's like, oh, we did. It's like when someone's like, "Hey, man, how are you? Remember me from the party?" Da, da. You're like,
not really.
Can you refresh my memory? What did we do? What did you say? Like, oh, yeah, you. Sorry,
you were the one that didn't want to help out when we needed you.
Yeah, you were the guy who broke the windows and took the beer. What is your problem? Why'd you do that? But I mean, maybe that's a touchy topic here where we are in this society where we're talking about breaking windows and things like that we're dealing with. But to me, man, it's different. My background is a little bit different. I grew up where there are windows broken, and I think if we could just be a little bit more material here for a moment, is that what we can look at with this whole thing is not to be cornered into any side that isn't from divinity in your choosing and what you've chosen to go for, man.
Don't be pressured into doing things you're going to regret.
Exactly, because trust me, I come from that side and I know how rough it can get, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You will pay your whole life for it. It's not worth it, man.
Yeah.
But what is worth it for the rest of your eternity is that good joy and communion and spirit and eternal service, man.
Right.
That's what's worth it.
Yeah. Well, I've got another little quote here that kind of puts things in perspective in a different way. In a way that I also love about the Urantia book. It's not blind to the realities of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Evolutionarily, spiritually, and otherwise. It gives full attention to the challenges of our situation. Doesn't just say, just, pray about it and be nice and everything will be fine. Right?
Shake it off. Walk it off. Write them off.
We got, real work to do here.
Yeah.
So this paragraph, I think, is very interesting. This is 195. It's getting very near.
Let me find it.
195.86.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, this is the Midware commentary, of course. And they say that secularism can never bring peace to mankind. So that kind of echoes what we started this whole conversation with, the idea that we need revelation to really achieve peace, true peace on the planet. They say nothing can take the place of God in human society. But it's one of the big Urantia books that had some big butts in it.
Everyone's got a big butt, man.
But mark you well! Exclamation point. Do not be quick to surrender the beneficent gains of the secular revolt from ecclesiastical totalitarianism. Oh.
Not everyone will know what that means, Chuck.
Well, they're talking about the church, the bad things, the people that rebel, a lot of atheists are really just rebelling against church domination. They have no clue about God, but they know they don't like some things about the church. So that fuels this the spirit of revolt against religion. But what they're really revolting against is institutional power that was wielded cruelly in some cases, in many cases. So they say, do not be quick to surrender the beneficent gains of the secular revolt from ecclesiastical totalitarianism. Ecclesiastical meaning church, related to religion, church. Western civilization today enjoys many liberties and satisfactions as a result of the secular revolt. The great mistake of secularism was this: in revolting against the almost total control of life by religious authority, which again is an external, like we were talking about before, and after attaining liberation from such ecclesiastical external tyranny, the secularists went on to institute a revolt against God himself, sometimes tacitly and sometimes openly. And just a little bit later in that same section, they say that secular, social, and political optimism is an illusion. Without God, neither freedom and liberty nor property and wealth will lead to peace. So it's this really interesting combination of thoughts there.
Yeah.
That good things sometimes come from breaking free of tyranny, whether it's political or ecclesiastical. But you got to be careful not to throw out the superhuman resources that really make all things possible.
Yeah, when you fight a battle on that level, it's easy then to resort to those tactics and throw out that which. I even think about Abraham a lot. How when Melchizedek was telling him, "Look, man, you don't have to sacrifice animals to please God. Like, it's all good." And he's like, "Okay, right on. But just to be sure, I'm going to go kill a bunch of bulls."
Do it anyway. Right.
It's like you have to believe in it. You really have to buy in order to see the value of it. And it's the same thing like we're talking about of taking risks, like buying into God or buying into Jesus, buying into those faith leaps that they're asking you to take.
Yeah.
You got to buy in wholeheartedly. It's like diving off the deep end, man. You got to do it. You don't just fake it. Otherwise you hit your head on the side of the pool or something.
Right.
You have to do it all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we have this material sense of being all in that can sometimes lead to aggression and violence and things like that.
Well,
like,
the danger.
I get fired up here, but I'm still trying to share love here in this knowledge and in seeing the relationship with me and Chuck and how we're working this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And what were you saying? The danger of
the big danger in going the secular route is self-deification. So if you throw out God along with the church, then what are you left with? You're just left with yourself.
Yeah,
so then the tendency is to self-deify. And that's the mistake of Lucifer, of course. Yeah. So then we begin to see all these echoes of the Lucifer rebellion, like running through our...
Or like equality of the mind, or the mind is infallible. How about that one? The mind is infallible, just runs rampant these days.
Yeah. Oh, I thought of this, therefore it must be right.
Exactly.
I'm not going to evaluate my thoughts. I'm just going to spew them out there.
Well, I love my one buddy who took like the Rene Descartes thing is, I think therefore I am, to I think therefore I'm right.
Yeah, right. That's a good one. Yeah.
And so that's what we're really going for now these days.
Yeah.
And then kind of like, I discern whether I like you, whether you have right thinking according to my thinking.
Right.
But that still, in my mind, is an immature form of something progressive, which is trying to formulate an identity. And I really believe that...
Or discover. Yeah, formulate, discover.
You're formulating, discovering your identity, and that you have to work around with what is my belief systems and what boundaries am I willing to put up to defend this identity.
Yes. And how developed is my thinking around these questions? Mm-hmm. You know, they talk about the quality of thinking becoming the coming standard of living, and they lament that so few mortals are real thinkers, right? Yeah. So the importance of doing your own thinking and formulating, you know, almost like a concept architecture of your understanding of reality. You know how the Urantia book talks about itself as a concept frame. It's so expansive. We can never end with growing into it.
Yeah.
But that requires effort and work. It's hard work to think. Have you ever noticed that?
I guess. I don't know. You know me, man. I think all the freaking time. I'm just thinking.
I remember when I first started reading the Urantia book, I'd read like half a paragraph and pass out. You know?
Oh, like it was the mental labor of it.
It was like steam coming out of my ears. You know, I was trying to, what?
Yeah. Well, it's labor to think of mind expanding concepts.
Yeah, right. Exploring new ideas.
It's the same, and I know I beat it up all the time, but it's working out. You're stretching your muscles. Your mind is a big one, and you got to stretch that baby.
Yeah.
And then what fills in, the fruit of that labor is awesome.
Well, yeah. Then you start seeing connections. Mm-hmm. Okay, I figured this out over here, and I figured this out over here, but what is the implication of both of those things being true? Then you get this sort of like hybrid group of insights that are spawned from previous work. And that's just like such an amazing thing to experience.
Oh, I know. And
you have realizations and insights.
Well, I have personal experience of doing that while standing on shoulders of other people's work.
Oh, yeah. Not just the Urantia book.
Not just the Urantia book, but also people who've discerned the Urantia book to pull out work.
Yeah. That too, yeah.
And then stand on that and pull it out further.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome feeling.
Yeah. But true. And something that I've recognized for a while now is that the Urantia book has great value unto itself, but there's a whole another realm of value where you take the concept architecture from the Urantia book or the insights, and you combine those with other understanding and other discoveries from other human sources that have been achieved empirically or evolutionarily or at great price or at great effort. And there's been a discovery of truth that by others, you know, historically, however you discover them, you combine those with what's in the Urantia book. And that also creates a whole rich realm of possibility. So it's almost like a second purpose for the book is to hybridize it with the best of human thought outside the Urantia book.
Yeah, and I enjoy that, and I encourage any of you guys at home. There are Facebook groups about things like that and a little bit more specifics of material, like the Urantia Book Science and History Facebook group.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Jump on there. There's always correlations and things like that.
All the
people like Chuck, myself, David, other people are finding correlations not only in history but in their own life, in their interaction, in art, music, you name it. Revelation is in there.
Yeah. Nothing. I mean, one of the biggest thrills in life for me is to have an original insight. To have an original insight and recognize that it's valuable, you know, true, or relatively true at least, in such a way that it actually changes your life. It changes your decisions. Yeah. Because you've had this realization and it sets things on a better course. And that's that's part of the gift that we can develop, you know, that's been given within us. This combination of our minds. I mean, think about our minds' work, you know, with the adjutant spirits and all of that. I mean, our minds are just always churning out, always busy, always proposing.
Yeah.
Our minds are always making proposals, but it's up to us to evaluate and decide if those proposals are worthy or not.
And Chuck brought up one good thing to me that I really appreciate is when he talked about when you have that inner drive to help somebody else, that could be the thought adjuster, probably is the thought adjuster's proposal, right? Saying, hey, why I propose you go help this other child of God.
That urge to altruism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I'm learning to pay attention to those kind of urges.
Good.
The word urge shows up a whole bunch of times in the book. We could do a whole show about that.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah, we might.
Because that's this, you just get this feeling, oh, I need to do this. You know, and curiosity is one of those, isn't also, I think, one of those urges. It's very important. So I've noticed, like, I'm just suddenly curious about something.
Yeah.
That I mean, if there's value involved, that could easily be some kind of a thought adjuster nudge.
Yeah, I agree. I felt that.
Yeah. And then when you start getting into it and you explore that curiosity, then you see everything you've learned as you've done that and how it's like completely changed your thinking about dozens of other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why we're lucky to have revelation, because we can, as you said, like the potential's in the framework, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
And so there's always more gems in there.
Right.
So you're not going to run out of gems to pull out of there. And so if you can be led and find an interesting route to do it and bring it forward.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. Like I think about like Captain Bob Bates and Sarmas trying to find Atlantis and Eden.
Huge curiosity there.
Yeah. David Cantor doing all of his work.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I thank you guys who do all that work, and thank you, Chuck, bringing it out. Everyone who does that, man, it's worth it. And even if you don't see the rewards in this life, man, it's worth it for us, because I stand on shoulders of people who did work like that. Yeah. So I appreciate things like that, and I know the rest of the world to come will as well.
And it takes initiative.
Yeah.
And that's why Jesus spoke so highly. It puts so much importance on initiative and originality.
Right on.
Those two qualities of motivation or qualities of endeavor that are what really make a difference. You know, like the creativity is born in the inner life. It's the only way to bring peace to this world.
So we got a couple minutes. Let's maybe go out with this last quote here.
Sure. Which one?
93.5.1.
Is that one of the ones that
It's the last one.
Oh.
The absolute last one.
Oh, the 93.5.11?
Yeah.
About Melchizedek?
Do you want to leave with that one? Unless you got a special one you want to...
Well, we could. That's more historical.
Okay. What do you got? It was just the last one on my list.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The professor emailed me at the last second here.
Yeah. No, here's a really important one.
Okay.
This is 71.1.
Okay, give me a sec.
Well, maybe we'll do two here.
71.
Paper 70, part 1. Paragraph 1.
Oh, you got a lot in paper 70.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in paper 70. Well, paper 70 is, I think, is the one about.
Okay, well, take us out.
But this one is again very on the ground, practical kind of advice. It says, war is the natural state and heritage of evolving man. Getting again back to the idea without revelation. War is the natural state and heritage of evolving man. Peace is the social yardstick measuring civilization's advancement. Before the partial socialization of the advancing races, which may be where we still are to some extent, man was exceedingly individualistic, extremely suspicious, and unbelievably quarrelsome.
Whoa, I can relate.
Can you relate to that? Can you relate to that? Now listen to this. And it says, violence is the law of nature. Hostility, the automatic reaction of the children of nature. How much of that are we seeing? While war is but these same activities carried on collectively. And wherever and whenever the fabric of civilization becomes stressed by the complications of society's advancement, there is always an immediate and ruinous reversion to these early methods of violent adjustment of the irritations of human interassociations.
That wasn't quite the peaceful quote I wanted to go on, but it was real, and we didn't say that this was going to be easy.
Yeah. Well,
these are tough conversations.
This is sort of what is.
Yeah.
This is sort of what is, which just elevates the priority of the secret to our escape from these, quote, natural conditions, which is the embrace of revelation, the embrace of incoming input from divinity, which is with us all the time. We just have to know it's there. That's why it's a revelation. I mean, the presence of God in the world and in our lives is a revelation. Once that's been revealed, then we can discover it, explore it, and make it real. But it has to be revealed. There's no other way to find out about it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Chuck, for revealing that to us.
Well,
a brother,
an echo
of this revelation.
Yeah.
But it's up to us, as we said.
Yeah.
We're the feet on the ground, the boots on the ground, and we're the soldiers of love here.
Yeah.
So let's represent that at a high level and reveal that love to everybody else,
love.
as we're trying to do.
That is the revelation.
Love, love, love. Evolution of love.
Yeah.
So God bless you, Chuck.
Likewise.
God bless you guys.
Thanks for producing this, making it possible.
Always.
Figuring out all this craziness with the equipment.
It's all good. This is what we do. We're asked to serve with that, what our talents are. So God bless you guys. Thank you for joining us. I'll try to chime in maybe at another lunch break, but we're going to get back to work here. May you have a peaceful day, and may you share peace with all of your brothers and sisters. God bless you always.
All righty.
Thank you
Till
again,
next time.
Chuck.
Mm-hmm.